What's up, my most excellent friends? I am DC Spike Harlow, and this is the V'ger Network, and together we are seeking the Creator. Alright, so let's get this thing started. We're going to talk about time travel today.
Time travel. Whoa.
That's right, time travel. Whoa. Now, time travel has been a mainstay of science fiction for probably as long as there's been science fiction. You've got H.G. Wells and the Time Machine. You got Time Bandits. You got Doctor Who. The Time Tunnel. Even the X-Men had a stint in some time travel when they did the storyline for Days of Future Past. According to Star Trek, Captain Kirk had 17 time violations. And of course, there's Quantum Leap. Don't forget Back to the Future. And Interstellar, which makes some real science. You've got Einstein's theory of relativity. You've got time dilation. There's all kinds of things that work their way around into time travel, and it's really fascinating. In fact, there was a brand new article that just came out. It kind of put some things together in perspective. It essentially said that time travel probably is possible, but you could not create paradoxes. So in other words, the grandfather paradox. You couldn't go back in time and prevent yourself from being born because, well, then you wouldn't be there to then go back in time to prevent that event. So therefore, something can't happen. There can't be both existence at the same time. It's pretty interesting, and it'll mess with your head if you try to stick on there too long. Now, while time travel is a fascinating subject...
Time travel. Whoa.
Whoa, indeed. I want to look at something maybe not quite as serious as time travel. In an episode of Deep Space Nine, in fact, the premiere episode called The Emissary, the captain, Benjamin Sisko, has an encounter with what they will later call the wormhole aliens. These are beings that exist outside of time, so they see things not in a what could possibly happen, but things that have already happened, and they just kind of experience it all together somehow. And in this encounter with them, he attempts to explain how humans exist, how we live through linear time. He uses baseball as an example, and how that when the pitcher throws that ball, there's 100 things that could come from that toss. Once it leaves his hand, how it can curve one way, curve another way. The batter might hit it. It might go into the outfield. It might go to the infield. It might come straight back to the pitcher. He might get a run. He might not. There's no way for us to know. So there's this sense of uncertainty in our existence. Now, throughout this whole encounter, they keep coming back to a memory that Benjamin Sisko has. Now, this memory is in his past, and they keep bringing him back into that past memory, and that's the memory of when the ship that he was previously a commander of was attacked by these other aliens called the Borg, and in particular, Locutus of Borg. Now, that's a whole other story for a whole other time about where Locutus comes from. But needless to say, it is a pivotal moment in Sisko's life. He loses his wife in this battle, and it has really affected his career, it's affected his relationships. He's never been able to move from that. And so while he's having this encounter and trying to explain our linear existence to these aliens, they keep dragging him back to this memory, and it's just tearing him up. And they keep asking him, well, if this is so, if you have all these possibilities, why do you live here? It's very interesting, very, very, very poignant question, isn't it? Why would he choose to live in a moment in the past that is painful, that is just devastating and hurtful? And they keep asking it over and over, and he keeps trying to leave, and he begs them at one point, just give me the power to leave. You have brought me here. And they keep replying, no, you choose to live here. This is where you are. And then he kind of gets it. He kind of gets it that he's never been able to let that moment go. He's never been able to reconcile with the past to be able to move forward in life. Needless to say, as the story progresses, he does find a way to let go, and he repairs one relationship in particular. And you see a change in his character as the show develops. But how many of us are like that? How many of us are living in the past? We're living in that one moment of hurt, of pain, maybe even of trauma. Now, don't get me wrong. This is not to say that a traumatic event, something that has definitely shaped who you are, is something to just be lightly forgotten. But it definitely needs to be dealt with. What if it's preventing you from having a relationship with someone very dear, very close to you? What if it's fixing a relationship that was broken because of that hurt? Maybe it has to do with forgiveness of someone. There's a lot going on there, isn't there? Let me tell you something else. Jesus said, and this is very poignant, he said, any man who puts his hands to the plow but then looks back is not fit for the kingdom of heaven. Now, maybe that sounds weird. Well, why wouldn't you look to where you've been? Why wouldn't you see what you've been making? The point is, when you're plowing a field, you have to maintain a point of view. You have to be looking at where you're going. Because if you don't, you can break the plow, you can go too deep, you can lose concentration because you're looking back behind you into the past where you've already been. And you lose sight of where you're going, and now your path is crooked. You stray. That's what he's talking about there. And that's what he's talking about is anybody who's unwilling to let go of the past is not really fit to move forward. They can't move forward in some cases. Is that any of us? Have we gotten to a point where we can't move forward because we're so focused on something that's happened in the past? You know, Paul puts it another way, or rather, he talks about his life when he says, you know, one thing I know that I have done is I've put my past behind me and I reach for the future. I reach for that goal that God has set before me. So we got to keep our mind and our eyes set forward, always moving forward, always looking at where we're going. Or we're bound to trip. We're bound to fall and stumble. And the thing is, if we can forget the past, we can move on much, much easier. You know, God promises that when we accept this new life with Him, all things are made new. We become new creatures when we accept Jesus. Well, new means new. It means there is no past. It means the past is done and forgotten. We're granted forgiveness. We're granted grace. And that's a fantastic thing to think about. A little bit of time travel. Forget the past to get into the future. Be excellent to one another. JOY.